we are going to get back to the NBA. And big game tonight, huge game. Might not be a great one, we'll see, but it's certainly a big game. The Lakers at Golden State for game 2. Lakers stole game 1 in a really great game, 117, 112. They won that one. Star-laden Anthony Davis, LeBron, Steph Curry. So that'll start in about an hour. So right now, Rob, let's talk about this because a lot of people now talking about Steph Curry and where does he rank all time? You know, I've said he's top 10. Some are going beyond me, Rob, on television saying he's top 5 or will be. And our friend Stephen A. Smith said if he wins this championship this year, you got to Stephen A. said he considered putting him on his own Mount Rushmore above LeBron James.
No, he did not say that.
Yes, he did.
He did not say
his Mount Rushmore, Stephen A's, is Jordan, LeBron, Bill Russell, and Kareem. And I assume by that he means his best 4 players ever. Because, you know, Mount Rushmore could mean just who's had the bigger impact. But just looking at those guys, I think, Rob, he means his best 4, you know, his top 4 players ever. And he said that he didn't say it 100% definitive. He left himself a tad bit of wiggle room, and he actually played that wiggle room today because he said it yesterday, and then he got challenged again today. And he kind of said, look, I did say you just consider it. I might have to, you know how Stephen A. does. He said he might have to put Steph ahead of LeBron, but he wasn't 100% there, but he was about 75 to 80%. So people are saying things like this, and Stephen A. and others, Rob, Colin Cowherd, our colleague here at Fox Sports Radio, they've said, I don't think Stephen A.'s gone this far yet, but he said you got to think about it. It's a conversation, and Colin did go that far and said Steph Curry is the best point guard to ever play the game.
I think that's just I can't say that. I don't know how you could discount what Magic did in his brief NBA career, how he turned around
and
the
I'm
Lakers.
not trying to stop you, right? But they play right now. They've played about the same amount of games. Steph's played like 882. Magic's played 906. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't think it's there. And you know what? Let everybody go ahead and I know people got time to fill and stuff to talk about. But here's my other thing. We saw this before. Like Steph's in the second round, Chris, down, and they're talking about putting him on Mount Rushmore like it's automatic they're going to win a championship. I remember when Chris Paul was up 2-0 and everybody was talking about where he was and give him his flowers and all. Do you remember that conversation?
Right.
I just think it's way premature.
Well, it's definitely premature. And in fairness, people are saying if he wins. No, I haven't. Well, Colin did say he's already
ahead. Yeah, I don't.
And look, I'll give Colin. I don't agree, but I'll give Colin credit in that. I mean, he's saying it's not just a ring count to him.
No, and
it's not just a ring count to us or any.
It's not just a ring count. We've always said that. Like even with Magic, it's not just a ring count.
Right.
It's not.
He revolutionized like analytics. It's a part of it.
He revolutionized the point guard position, Chris, and his impact was huge. That's all. I just think that we got to be very careful not to discount everything because it didn't happen yesterday. And that's what I'm afraid of with a lot of people. That it's always just about what happened yesterday and not about the history of it. There's a lot of stuff, and people in their day and age and their circumstances or whatever were impactful people and players. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, no. And no, I don't think anybody's denying that. And I don't think, look, if you come with a strong argument, then come with a strong argument for Steph or against him or whatever. But, Rob, I'm going to be honest, like, Magic has been one of those guys. Like, everyone essentially has recognized him as the greatest point guard ever since probably late in his career, if not midway through his career. You know, they didn't talk about it as much back then, these debates, but I think that's probably been the case, Rob. And he, for me, it's like Magic's been one of those untouchables. Okay, you might be able to get in the top 5 point guards all time. Maybe we can discuss, Oscar. I mean, I've kind of had Oscar that locked in the number 2. And I've Isaiah 3, and I've had Steph 4, as of late, the last few years. But I will say, so I've still got Magic number 1. And the thing is, Rob, they are two, you couldn't get two guys that played the same position that are so different, right? Like one was 6'8", one is 6'2", 6'3". One is the greatest shooter ever. One was not a great shooter. He was okay. He had a set shot, but it would go in a lot. But he wasn't, certainly not a great jump shooter or 3-point shooter for sure. But he was, Rob, by far the greatest passer we've ever seen. Like, I don't think it's not even close.
Unquestioned.
Right. Rob, I think the distance between Magic as a passer and whoever's second is probably the greatest distance between any stat in the NBA. The distance between Jordan as the best scorer and whoever's second, between, I guess, Wilt as the best rebounder and whoever's second, probably Bill Russell, at least by stats, or Rodman if you want to just go whatever. Like, Rob, I mean, and a lot of it was because it was fancy, right? I mean, he made passes that were just, I mean, there's never been a more fitting nickname. I mean, it was literal Magic.
Magic is definitely it.
Oh, It never been a more fitting nickname.
You know what, Chris? I was saying one of the best leads I ever wrote in my newspaper career. I was writing a column. I was at the NBA All-Star game when Magic played in Orlando, Chris. Remember, he was out of the league and they invited him. Remember that?
MVP,
well, you were down there for that.
I wasn't there for that.
Oh, no. You weren't there yet? Okay.
No, but he won the MVP. That was 92, I think, right?
Yep, 92. So I'm covering that. And the lead, and remember, he won MVP, and he won, and his team lost, Chris, in that All-Star game. My lead was something like this. Something like, for a player to win the All-Star MVP, normally it would take a miracle for a player on the losing NBA All-Star team to win the MVP. Yesterday, it took Magic. That's not bad.
Good. Yeah,
right?
That's good. That's good. Yep. That's good. That's good. And you remember that he came back, had HIV at that point.
And you remember the people didn't want to play with him. It was a
Karl Malone.
People didn't know about HIV and it was really, it must have been traumatic for him. Just at that point, people were scared.
And he was he was like 31 years old.
Yeah, he was a young guy, man. I told you I was in the Bahamas when the announcement came down. And Chris, I was in a casino. It stopped the casino. That press conference.
It was people now, the young people that weren't around, right? They can't imagine that. I mean, I guess if a superstar, I don't want to even name names, but got caught up in something like that. And at that time, like you said, HIV was viewed as a death sentence. Nobody thought Magic would still be around, and thank God he is. And seems he's doing great, obviously. But I think, Rob, look, like I said, they're totally different. I think you can't, Magic's obviously a better passer. Steph's a better shooter and scorer. I do think Magic could have scored a lot more points, but he was just that true point guard and really only cared about winning. And that's why, Rob, like, I think the thing about Magic, he didn't win all of his finals. He won 5 finals. He went to 9. In 12 seasons, he went to 9. I'm counting, before he retired the first time. He was always in the finals. And I think the thing about Magic, Rob, is he was just a win. You talk about a winner. I mean, Bill Russell, obviously the greatest winner, I think in American sports history, team sports. But Magic, in the times I've been watching basketball and knowing him, talking with him, being on the show with him where we talk a lot during breaks, I just came away with the feeling, man, this dude just cared about winning. He didn't care if he scored 3 points. And I even asked him how important winning the assist titles and stuff was to him. And he said, he convinced me. Now, was he just telling me some lines? Maybe, I don't know. But he convinced me, man, he didn't even care about that. I mean, he led the league in assists all the time, but that it was just about winning. And he had Kareem. He had Worthy.
Right.
He had Jamal Wilkes. He had Byron Scott. So why is he shooting 25 times a night? You know what I'm saying? Like, get them to rock. And but Rob, and I think this is a similarity with the two, Magic and Steph. Like, a lot of people look at Steph, but the 2 rings with Durant and blah, blah, blah. And my thing is, don't take those 2 rings away or belittle them from Steph, because we don't belittle Magic's rings with Kareem, all 5 of them, in fact, or Kareem's with Magic, or LeBron's with Wade or Anthony Davis, or Kobe's with Shaq and vice versa. But what I will say is this, like, Durant obviously has never won it without Steph. And looking like there's a really good chance he won't win another ring. Steph obviously has won 2 without Durant. Kareem, Rob, even though he was viewed, especially in the first part of Showtime, as the best player, he only won 1 in 10 years without Magic. And then when he got with Magic kind of rejuvenated him, and Kareem won 5 in 10 years with Magic. And a lot of that was, he was older and really just a scorer toward the end, but putting up 20-something points. So my point is just that player who's Kevin Durant has been viewed up until recently as better than Steph. Kareem's viewed as better than Magic, but it was Steph. We should look at, Steph's the one that keeps winning without Durant, and Magic was the one that was helping Kareem win more than he ever had in the pros. And so that, to me, those guys' leadership, different styles, but their leadership and their impact on the game and on winning is very similar, but done differently.
Yeah, my only thing is I think you can't, like, Steph choked down a 3-1 lead, which no one has ever done. I just think if you're looking at the resume, and then he was a part of the group to go get Kevin Durant, and that was against LeBron James and the Cavs, and maybe he thought that he couldn't win again if he didn't go get Kevin Durant to be a part of that. I think that
Do
if
you
you're
hold
doing
that against LeBron though? That
yeah,
he went and got with D-Wade.
I think that hurts LeBron. I do. I think that's a part of the super team thing that a lot of people say he always had to have a stacked deck. I'm just saying. So the Kevin Durant stuff, I get it that Durant hasn't won yet since, and Steph has won once, but I still think that
twice.
People, no, I'm talking about before, since he left.
Once before
Right.
Durant, once after.
But I still think that people look at Steph in that situation, and that could be looked at as a negative, that he's this great player, but he ran out to get Kevin Durant.
Draymond ran out.
Well, but they say, what do they call the Hampton Five? They all went. Yeah, they all went.
But I don't hold that against him.
He could have been, but I'm just saying, I do. That's just that's
But
you
also,
don't look at it, but I'm just saying I do when I'm looking at the greatest and I'm nitpicking against everything that went on.
But are you nitpicking against Magic?
and everything that went on. But Magic was drafted there. I don't know.
No, I'm
like,
talking about you brought up Steph choking down the 3-1 lead when Andrew Bogut was hurt.
Yeah,
and Draymond
yeah.
was. But let me finish. And Draymond was suspended. And Steph actually played hurt throughout that series. No excuses, but he was banged up. Magic, you talk about choke. Magic's the greatest point guard ever. And he dribbled out the clock in the final series against the Celtics. And then threw away, had some turnovers at the end of the game that were like, you wouldn't believe it. My dad said to me, I'm in high school watching this. And my dad was like, if I didn't know better, I think Magic threw that series. And he wasn't saying he threw it, but he was saying that's how bad it was. And so, Rob, you know it, they were calling him Tragic Johnson. And they were in L.A., they were writing stories about, he smiles, he's all jovial, and when things are good, he's great. But when the pressure's on, he hasn't delivered lately, at least. I don't even think they were throwing in lately, but because they were talking about the 83, they got swept by Philly. Swept. Dr. J and Moses Malone. And then 84 is when he fell apart against Boston. Yeah. So let's not just talk about Steph. I don't even think just choked. They lost.
Steph. They didn't lose. They didn't lose 2 games all year. They set the record for wins. They lost 3 straight games for the first time all year. They lost 2 of those 3 games at home, and they lost a game 7 in Oakland. I mean,
all I'm asking is say nothing about Magic
I'm just
choking.
But I'm talking about, when I'm talking about Steph, those things are stuff that I look at. That's all I'm saying.